Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us. Um, I don't know if you had an opportunity to see the video. Hopefully, you did. What I was hoping to do with this session is give you some ideas of how you might want to create such a project. Um, or, morning, Gregory. Good to see you.
Good morning, Alex.
Yes. Um, so Gregory, I was just explaining, I think we're gonna go through the process, but the way we're gonna go through the process is, um, I've been a teaching artist for the past 6 years at the Boys and Girls Club in Green Bay. And there was a grant for a teaching artist position. And 6 years later, um, I'm still there, still doing, still passionate about the work that I'm doing. And one of the things that was important to help me get to be successful to this point were the Wallace Foundation created some principles, 10 principles. So I thought I would go through each principle that might help your organization or something that you can think about that might help you in where you're at. So I'm going to use the 10 principles to kind of talk about the making of this project. And if there's any questions, I can pause. Feel free to ask questions. So the Look mural um, was something that started before COVID. It was, what are you going to be doing in the upcoming summer conversation? And then things happened. Let me see if I can hit this. Uh, the pandemic hit. We had COVID, and then there was uh, the protest. In this image here, um, uh, this is Amy. She's a co-worker in Green Bay at the Boys and Girls Club. This is my wife. This is myself. But what I saw at these protests were a lot of our own youth, a lot of people that from Green Bay, from all walks of life. Um, and what impressed me were all these signs. There was a lot of signs, and it seemed like that was a way for people to express their thoughts, with an image and words. So that popped into my head, and it's like, how powerful images can be. So that's where we decided to create a. I talked to my I talked to my youth at the. I work with teenagers, and I needed to reconnect with them. So the biggest challenge was that is reconnecting, and I'm glad I did call them up because I was in a real deep rut back in March. Uh, Gregory, I don't know how you were feeling back in March when you heard of the COVID, um, but there was this shock, like this new thing, and I was in a slump. I was really in a slump. But what brought me out were actually my youth. They said, "Well, Mr. Alex, we ought to do something." So thankfully, they did that, and um, I'm an artist, of a video filmmaker, but I thought that the creation of a painted artwork would benefit our youth, so that we can start talking through the process of where they're at and what they're doing. So I reached out to community artists in the community, and Gregory responded, and he'll get a chance to share that. He responded, and we went into action. The next, hold on a sec. So applying the 10 principles for effective high quality arts program during the pandemic. Again, I want to thank the Wallace Foundation for their support and the knowledge that to this point today, I still go to their website. I would recommend, if you want to know information about the educational field and the arts, they're in the cutting edge there. So the first um, the first principle is instructors are professionals, practicing artists, and are valued with compensation for their expertise and investment in their professional development. So this is what caught my eye. It's like, that um, they were literally bringing professional artists to mentor underprivileged youth at the club. So that was a very exciting opportunity. At first, I wasn't sure. Oh, I got to teach youth, because my world was the adult life for a long time. Working at TV stations and like PBS and such. So um, I thought this was a great opportunity, and I went for it. I reached out to Ken Hutchinson, who's a great advocate and activist here in Green Bay, and uh, we are part of the Public Arts Commission. So his concern was that there wasn't enough people of color producing public art in the communities. So when I told him, oh, I have this idea for a mural, he goes, all right, let's go for it. Let's call Gregory. So I called Gregory, and Gregory himself, he's an amazing artist and a community advocate. So, Gregory, I think this is a good time for you just kind of share a little bit about who you are and maybe a little bit about how this all started.
Well, thank you, Alex. Um, um, I'm a professional artist. Grew up in Haiti, living in the Green Bay area since 2014. Married to my beautiful American wife, Amy. I'm a father of 4 as well. Um, at home, we both run the art business, travel, selling art all over the places. I work, my medium is acrylic paint. Style is modern eclectic. First, I want to say the Look Mural was a fun project during the summer. I was honored to work with the youth at the Boys and Girls Club as a way to help them to express themselves through art. The look I get in a store, I want to say it's something as I will call myself African Haitian because I'm not American yet. When you go to doctor places, in any public places, things happening, they look, it may not happen to you, your brother, your sister, but let me tell you, it's there looking at us, facing us, and choking us daily. This mural was painted after George Floyd incident happening, and got the call from Alex and said, hey, what do you want to do? You would like to do something, as he already mentioned that. And I feel it was very important at that time to work with the youth and express ourselves in that moment, as all of us been, COVID happened, everything happened that same time. It's been painful. And we start helping this kid, helping themselves and go through this moment together as we can get through this. Now, here we go. It's over 50 years since Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. started his work on racial justice. So in 2020, will you think we would still have to fight for human rights? Today, with a peaceful protest. So I feel like this project is one of my favorite projects I've been working. And now this painting is done. but our work is not over yet. I will say, with the community help, we will make an end to these things. I would like to say it's happening right here, as we started right here. And thank you again, Alex. And to, I'm not really a big fan of camera, but and thank you for everyone who been participate as well. So
Good.
This is what we do, and we'll continue to fight for the right of human rights. And thank you again, Alex.
As you can see, just from hearing from Gregory, why it was important to have him work with our youth, because our youth identified with him right away, and you know, we're all searching for a voice, and I think there's an opportunity whatever community you live in, that you reach out to your local artists, and a professional artist, or whatever that term means. But make the investment. And one of the things that I try to do is assess the artist prior by just going to one of their events, getting to see them, how they interact with other community members, and if that's a good fit that they might be able to work with youth, I go out and reach out for them. So the first principle is about that, finding professional artists, and more importantly, compensate them for their time. So here, I'm going to go to the next. Executive directors have a public commitment to high quality arts program that is supported by sustained action. This is huge. If you're in an organization, you have to have a buy-in from the very top, because they set the tone. And I think in today's times, a lot of, fortunately, I'm very fortunate that we have an amazing CEO, Lisa Kogan-Praska at the Boys and Girls Club, and she's a great advocate for youth voice. So throughout the process, I'm very transparent. I communicated with her and the rest of the staff about what this entailed. Even though that it was challenging for me, but just having that support, knowing that I've got somebody that's got our back, really helped to move this project forward. Principle number 3, art takes place in dedicated, inspiring, welcoming spaces, and affirm the value of the art and the artist. BC, before COVID, at the club we had like set up an amazing studio at some point, where it was a big green screen room, and I was able to do a lot of fun projects with the youth. But the one thing that was foremost important is whatever project we worked on, that it was youth voice driven, and that made the space even more attractive to them, because they had a place where people would listen. And I think that's an important process, is being a good listener. Now we're post-COVID, and I still was able to create a dedicated space. On the left, I was trying to create a pod, a safe COVID pod that we can work with. So I kept the numbers of youth small, so that we can work safely together. So on the image on your left, we're painting outdoors. There's a like a football field area in the back of the club, so it was a perfect area to play. Of course, in the center, this is where it all started. It was just via Zoom, and that was became an important space for them. Um, but first, we needed to activate that space because a lot of them, some of them didn't have a laptop or a computer. Some didn't have internet. So that was the beginning of the process of creating this other space, this space for them. And then once we got on Zoom, we were able to I was able to empower them, where sometimes they ran the meetings. Uh, uh, Sometimes they just talked about subject matters that perhaps were not related to what I had planned for. But that was okay because again, I was trying to create this space where they can share. Um, and the nice thing about allowing them to have that space is if you can sit in the background and just listen, because you'll pick up things. It's like, well, uh, so and so's parents, are out of a job. We don't know if he or she'll be coming back. So all those little things that they start sharing with each other, I started taking notes, and then wherever I was able, the Boys and Girls Club, wherever we were able to help, uh, we would step in and offer that. On the far right, I did all the interviews. Basically, what was nice is that I taught these young artists how to use the cameras. So they literally set up their own cameras. They hit record, and they sat down and they interviewed. They did the interview, and I would be in another room shouting out the questions. Again, very conscious about safety measures. I'm gonna take a pause here. Is there any questions so far? Feel free to ask questions. Um, Principle number 4, there is a culture of high expectations, respect for creative expressions, and affirmation of youth participants as artists. Um, Again, I treat and Fred and Gregory treated the youth as artists themselves, not as students. We acknowledge them as artists from the very beginning. Um, they might have claimed, well, I didn't do much, or I'm not really sure. I think it's important to address the youth, that they are artists and that we had high expectations from them. Uh, Most importantly is this idea of respecting creative expression. Um, uh, what was nice is that there was this collaboration of ideas coming together, and the youth were. Uh, I was really proud of them because they were able to uh, talk things out, uh, and they would explain why a particular idea meant or was so important to them and why it should be in that mural. So I think the process, I really believe in the process. I wasn't sure what the outcome was going to be, but I knew the process was really, really important. Um, so here's one of the creative youth expressions. Melissa, she a quiet person. We were talking via Zoom, and it was hard to draw her um, in that she felt like out of place. Like, well, I'm white. Why should I be involved in this? And we were able to have that conversation. Well, we need allies. We need to hear your point of view. And she was a great listener, and that helped to start putting together this illustration that she created with sort of an idea. Again, Gregory pointed out the look meant was if what people of color constantly go through, even today. Um, I remember when I moved into Green Bay 20 something years ago, and I was going to the grocery store, and there was a lady that in her car, and she locked her door, and I was like, my first instinct was I turned around to see where the danger was coming from, but it turned out that I was the threat. I was the danger. I got that look, and that really uh, until you experience that, it was really hurtful. Um, but it's something that our youth experience all the time when they go to the grocery store. Um, so that's why the look was a prominent feature of this process. Um, Before I go further, Gregory, can you make a comment about that process a little bit about how Mel came up with that image and the ideas you had and how did we make it work? You got to unmute yourself. There you go.
Well, first of all, when I was received the image from her, and it was kind of like, okay, so how are we gonna match everything together? Because we couldn't take one subject and to just go with that. We have to get the other youth voice as well. But having me with them and everybody work together, we talk about it and say, hey, what we should do. Um, Mel came up with the idea, and we just find a way we put it together. We learn how to project it together, and we learn how to collaborate. We have one of another youth came up with how to put what do you call that, Alex?
The Statue of Liberty or the fist.
Yeah, the face, and as what's going on right now, so we just put them together somehow, project them and find a way we fit everybody in somehow, using the colors to express themselves, all the key has been happening, it's history. So we find a way to work together and hope that brings some change in the whole world, not only in our own area. So let's spread it out somehow. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Our next principle: programs culminate in high quality public events with real audiences. That was challenging as well. It's COVID. How do you, how do you navigate real audiences in today's world? And we were able to do a little bit of both. Here was our internet audience. I'm so proud of my youth. We received a Ethics in Action Award for this project from the foundation's Health and Wholeness, and their mission is mental health and foster care. So this was a high-end event done virtually as well. We had the local media come in, and our youth were there under the lights, and we were able to have a small gathering, and we made sure that they themselves were distanced and that they were wearing masks. So we were trying to navigate this idea of how do we create this high end, with real folks, and I think that was really important. Um, Mayor Gingrich came in and he helped unveil this mural, which was uh, amazing for the youth because it's like, wow, the mayor's here, you know, um, and that's the kind of support we need, but this is an example of how we were able to um, get an audience for this. Principle number 6: positive relationships with adult mentors and peers foster a sense of belonging and acceptance. what I get from this is I want to be that adult I wish I would have had when I was a kid. Um, that and fortunately for me, I was a club kid back in Chicago, and I joined this martial arts program. The instructor, he was outside of my dad and mom. He was the next adult that I really was able to connect with, and um, and I think that was really important. So my youth got that opportunity too, by meeting Gregory and by meeting Kent. There was this natural connection because they were having the same um, feelings and conversations, and so having these positive relationships really helped in this process of trying to create this art form uh, that really was a sensitive issue. So having positive relationships with mentors is the important part of this process. So if you are considering doing a such a project, make sure that there's time for that mentorship connection. I think that's especially when you're working with youth, they really need that. And to be honest, we adults need that as well. I think it goes both ways. The youth kind of mentored me in that I was able to get a glimpse of their world and looking through their lens. So that process goes both ways. Um, Gregory, you want to share anything about how these youth were with you? Was it a positive experience? Uh, just whatever you'd like to share.
Well, it was kind of very interesting to see how the youth, just sometimes, if I miss something, I didn't put it yet because, as working with them, I'm learning a lot. Sometimes if I didn't put something and you kind of see them just say, are we going to do this yet? Or what? I say, yeah, we just didn't get there yet, and then start laughing about it, and teach them how to mix colors, It's not something that can happen in 1 day or 2 days, it's a learning experience. They're having a lot of fun, Some of them never even, know how to just mixing the colors or came up with their own. Some of them trying to figure out how to bring an idea. I say the idea is there. You just have to put it on the canvas, and collaborate together. They probably never collaborated in the painting before, and they have a lot of fun. They do.
I agree. The principle number 7: youth participants actively shape the programs and assume meaningful leadership roles. Um, I put, when I work with the youth, again, I treat them as, I'm the executive producer, and I just hired you, and you need to step up. Uh, you need to help me come up with the ideas. You need to come up with how we're going to execute those ideas. Um, you might even have to make a phone call, because we might need to get paint. Well, I want you to get on the phone and call our local paint shop and make the ask. I really want to be able, through any of my projects, empower that leadership they already have inside of them. And so that's an important part of the process. So they did. They stepped up, and they were able to express leadership in a sense of not just because they understand that they're speaking um, uh, for many other people. So they're very conscious about what they're going to say and how they're going to say it. Um, they take the lead in, hey, Mr. Alex, you haven't had, we haven't had a Zoom meeting this week. What's up? so they would take that leadership and keep the process going. And I think you need to give them that opportunity. So you need to step back and not be the person that's always constantly driving. It's got to be the reverse. So you need to give them the opportunity to do that. And especially in these times, it's like when they feel like uh, uh, the only thing they owned at one time was their time, uh, and they would be able to go out and hang with friends physically or just you know. But now they're that's been whittled away, even their time, because now they're trying to uh, just learn this virtual world, and that's time consuming. Oh, and then Mr. Oz, I got a lot of homework to do. I don't know if I'm going to have time. So all these challenges, but I always make sure that whatever they want to do, I want them to make sure that they have to take leadership of their lives. So if they don't have time, or or if there's any needs, I'm encouraging them. You need to take leadership for yourself. So speak up. Principle number 8: programs focus on hands-on skill building using current equipment and technology. So we use all kinds of technology. Virtually, you got to learn how to use the computers, and we got an Adobe grant, so they had to learn how to use the software that was being offered. In this whole process, as well as not only were they making this mural, but I teach digital visual arts. I said, hey, where does that fit in? And I challenged them that while they were doing this, they had to create a documentary. So be conscious about the storytelling part of this. So, and then there's other tools like you see Ahmad there using a measuring stick, a measuring, so technology can be a hammer, or a pencil. Um, and I'd like, Gregory, if you can share some of the um, things they had to consider when they were making the mural, the process as far as the tools that they needed. Can you share a little bit of how that went about, what we had to do to get all the right tools to make this project work?
Well, first of all, what we did is we had a meeting and sit and talk about the whole process. And when you're working on the mural, you're gonna need to know what colors you're gonna use. It's not only you're just gonna paint, but you need to know what size of brushes you're gonna use. You learn how to, um, you know, gathering together and just like make a plan. You say, hey, we're gonna do, okay, what size the mural we're gonna work, how many plywood we're gonna buy. Um, they just make a sheet and then just writing the colors you're gonna need and brushes. And after that, just sitting and planning on the canvas, finish planning it, and we start painting. And at the same time, again, we're learning, I was the one leading them. So now how the one leading me the next day. They start understanding the whole process. So now, okay, now you start working by yourself and see what you need to do and how the process is gonna go. It's just a process, and learn from them as well. Learn from me, and then I learn from them.
And I think we were going through like originally we were thinking a wall, and then you were talking about, well, there's different textures. You got cement, and then
Mm-hmm.
there's wood,
Mm-hmm.
and prepping. All so a lot of hands-on tools were needed to be able to make this mural, um, which I think was fun for a while, but then it gets tiring too. This is hard work,
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely.
I don't know how you kept them going, but they kept on showing up. But it was hard work, especially first we got to do is prime this wood. What prime? What? Why do we have to prime? So there was a lot of learning, and we what I really liked, Gregory, is on this hands-on is you would let them make mistakes. Can you talk about that? Why did you do that? What was your
Why do I let them make mistakes? Or
yeah? Why did you include that?
well, doing mistake is part of the process. If you don't do mistakes, you're not gonna learn. Sometimes I just let them go, start doing something, and then they're looking at me and say, "Are you serious? You're gonna let me do something about the art or whatever?" I said, "You know what? Any jobs you're gonna learn from, you're gonna do mistakes. It's not only paintings. It's just that's the way life goes. You know, life goes on. You're doing mistakes, you go over it again. You know, especially we look here, we're working with paint. So, you know, if we do something wrong, you know, I mean, I will say in art, it's not really something wrong. Whatever you feel, you just express it somehow. But when you do something, it's not where the direction you want to go. If you do it, you just paint over it, and then we learn together and laugh about it, and then sit backing up and figure out something out.
So for those of you that want to work with a group of youth um, to do whatever project, um, you got to be able to connect with them. So technology is huge. So they got to get connected. So where are you going to, how are you going to get the technology for them? So that's got to be part of the process from the very beginning. Is this idea of connection? So and we needed the technology to do that. Also, I really believe in because as Gregory says, we're living through history. I think you should document what you're doing. Everybody's got a cell phone. Take a lot of pictures. That's what you see here. Use your technology that you have. Take videos. You can do a short video using just this camera. Um, so having access to technology and then allowing hands-on opportunities. And yes, they're going to make mistakes. Didn't you make mistakes when you were first learning? So that's part of the process, as Gregory mentioned. I think that's important. Number 9, the principle: programs strategically engage stakeholders to create a network of support for both youth participants and the programs. In today's world and yesterday's world, you can't do anything without collaboration. And you need to bring in stakeholders. You need to bring people in from your community. And that's always been my strategy. As an independent artist, that's, we networking is how we sustain ourselves. So I also was teaching my youth those processes is the importance of, yes, we're in four walls, the Boys and Girls Club, but did you know that we're connected to a larger community? And did you know that there is a lot of people out there that probably would want to step in and help us out, um, but we need to connect with them and make that ask. Um, but then we have to be conscious about who we're going to ask, why we're going to ask, that strategy, what's in it for them, kind of thing. Um, so we were lucky, in the credits of the video here, we had a amazing. I mean, we had a list of people, and hopefully I got everybody, but the Bay Area Arts and Culture Alliance is an amazing group that Gregory and I are involved in, and it's just grassroots artists coming together and trying to revitalize the Green Bay area through art. And we got grants from folks, the Ryback Meacham family, the Pollination Project Canary Fund. We were getting funds. The Adobe grant was huge. The city of Green Bay also helped fund this. We had Michael Vincent, just an independent person that gifted as well. Um, Cruel Art, that's Gregory. That's his his business. Um, he was paid. Gregory, all the artists here were paid, but make sure, and I think that's important, is as we get monies, we need to make sure that people that are actually doing the work get compensated. Sherwin Williams, they've always been great in Home Depot. You go in there and they'll give you some kind of discounts most of the time. So I was really appreciative of that. We had the local organizations like the Art Garage in downtown Green Bay. They were instrumental in helping us exhibit, this mural out in public, because the question is, okay, now we got a mural. What do we do with it? So they were able to step in and create a platform for my youth to do that. Number 10, programs provide a physically and emotional safe place for you. That is everything. We're all hurting, and I think in the video you'll hear one of our artists say that we're hurting on the inside. So, with everybody being locked down at homes, there is an increase in violence in some of the homes. Um, so that physical place they might not have, where the Boys and Girls Club provides that physical space. Emotionally, the Boys and Girls Club has an amazing, from top to bottom, we have an amazing crew. That's priority number one, is emotional safety. Social emotional learning is our number one top priority. Right now, we're doing everything with as far as COVID, making sure that we have all the necessities, gloves, taking the temperatures, making modules, that for safe distance. So, you know, Boys and Girls Club has always been my home since I was a kid, and it's still my home today. And it has, in large part, has to do with the amazing folks that we have on staff. So, Gregory, when I called you and I said, "Hey, we want to do this mural in the middle of COVID," what went through your mind?
Well, what can I say? An artist in the community called me and said, "Hey, I want to be part of something. Would you?" I said, "Of course." you know. And when I heard about the project, so I think it was very important, and especially youth right now, as an adult, we know what we're going through. What about them? So I feel it was very important at some point when I received that call. I think very necessary to be part of the team.
One of the things that I wanted to do, as far as, because it's always about connection. So COVID hit, and major disruption for everybody. And for a moment, I kind of forgot about everybody else and was worried about me. I was in an emotional state of, I was confused. I didn't know what to do next. It's like, yeah, I was afraid, and I shared all that information with my youth. I think it was important because we were all in the same boat, if you will. Um, when I was thinking about this mural project, it's like, wow, I don't know how we're gonna pull it. If they're painting and they're this far apart, how are we gonna? So all these things, I wanted to do something actionable, but with great deal of precaution. Again, for everybody's physical and emotional safety. And all artists were paid. They were given laptops and pizzas. So let me tell you about. Here's an idea for you guys. If I made pizza deliveries, and that was one way of reconnecting with the youth. I just called them up. I said, "Hey, pepperoni, cheese, or well, can I get, mushrooms? No, 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 no. You only got three choices. But anyways, that was important too, is breaking bread, you know, because, unfortunately, that might have been their meal for that day, you know. Um, so I made sure that when I asked, well, how many's in your family, that I had enough pizza for everybody in their family. Um, Paying an artist, I want them to learn that what they did was important. It was hard work, and as an artist, you need to be compensated. No freebies, because the work that you're doing, it can be life changing to somebody that sees it. So you can't monetize it, but they need to be compensated as well for their work. Um, Gregory, what do you think about compensating artists?
Well, I think it's very important to compensate an artist because for myself, I do it full time. And the fun part is I'm a self-taught artist, working as an artist and, doing what you love to do. Doesn't matter what type of art you do. You can be a singer, you can be a guitarist or anything like that. So you should get compensated because if this is what you choose to do, people should looking at it as any type of jobs you're doing in life.
But only adult artists should get paid.
I don't say that. I think adult you should get paid, but as the youth, they should get something as well because you should teach them as to for the own ownership. Like when they're doing something, they should get something to show them, hey, when you're working, being an artist, people should respect what you do and support that as well.
So I don't. We're almost 8 minutes away. I wanted to make sure that we just had opportunities for any questions out there, or any suggestions or ideas. Um,
There was a
Gregory, what?
question here
Yes.
on Huva. Somebody asked, as teaching artists, how do you encourage authentic youth voice? And I think the key word is authentic because you had mentioned, Alex, several of the students who participated at first were kind of timid or more reserved. So how did you kind of bring out that authentic spirit?
Um, yeah, that's, even as adults, we have trouble being authentic. Just look at the climate we're in today. Um, I think first of all, uh, I think they can be more authentic if they had, um, the medium that they can speak with best. So for these young artists, um, they were able to, where they were lacking in words, they might be able to draw an image, because that was their authentic way of expressing themselves. Uh, and sometimes it's just sitting back and really listening deep, and asking those questions, um, uh, those safe questions where they feel comfortable. But it's all relationship building. You can't really get an authentic answer if you're not authentic. If they don't feel that you don't come across as authentic, then you're not going to get that authentic response. So, uh, you, as a teaching artist, you always have to be in check. You always have to uh, leave your biases at the door, as they say, because you can walk in and judge a kid just by the way they look or what they might say. Um, so authenticity is a process, and that's why it took a while to get the project rolling, because I was looking for that authenticity from them, and I think more importantly, what really helped is having the peer to peer. So there were other youth just like them in the conversation. Uh, so sometimes they would ask me to leave because they had to have an authentic conversation amongst themselves. and then they would come back to me with an idea and the whys. So it's really as simply as just allowing them to speak. It really is. That's why um, that mural where the hand is covering the mouth, we need to uncover. We need to uncover their mouths, and we need to let them speak. I don't know if I answered the question, but that's sort of my process. Gregory, you want to share anything about that on authenticity?
Not much. Not
Okay.
much, Alex. You must go through it.
Okay.
There's another question here in Zoom, and your last point I touched on that, Alex, about creating the safe environment. Can you talk a little bit more about the importance of that and kind of how you go about doing that? Because I'm assuming that each participant's circumstances are different, and there's different levels, I guess, of feeling kind of safe, and then that letting you be authentic. So how important is that safe environment aspect?
You know, that's everything. Again, what I try to do is every time I see a youth, I try to put myself or empathize with them, try to put myself in their shoes, as they say. Um, and sometimes I don't know where they're at because nobody wants to talk about hard times or you know that's difficult to do. So creating a safe space is literally uh, coming together and setting some rules about what safety might look like in whatever environment we're at. So respect is huge. Just respect each other's thoughts and ideas. Um, if you want to comment, write them down. We'll look at it. But it's the whole thing is respect. Um, and you know, so there's the physical space as well. Well, there used to be, but for my physical spaces, they needed to have their favorite chair or that one spot they would lay down on the rug while they were gaming or um, it's let you know presenting a, um, a fun, sometimes tactile environment, sometimes a quiet environment. Sometimes they just wanted peace and quiet. So I had in my space I had a bunch of bean bags where I'll look at them and say, "Hey, you don't look good." Well, I was gaming all night, Mr. Alex. Well, why don't you go take a nap? So they'll go take a nap for 15 minutes. They'll be refreshed. They come back. So it really is very individual. Um, uh, Before we get into any subject, like right now with Zoom, I'll say, "Hey, can I talk to you? You know, in another room privately with you?" And I'll just ask, "What's up? How's it going?" "Oh, nothing. Everything's okay." "All right, just wanted to ask." Uh, or they might say, "Well, I'm glad you asked." You know, that conversation. So it's making yourself available as a teaching artist. Yes, you're there to teach them how to be artists, but more important, we're trying to teach them to be good people, just fully rounded people. Because at the end, they may not become an artist, but I think the process of what artists go through from ideas to implementation, and then finally, the culminating event. Um, is a fit in any organization to be able to have those kind of skills. So they understand that, and um, so yeah, so that's what I can share about that. Um, I'm just curious. You could always text me or email me, I should say, if there's a project that you want to launch in your area. I'd be happy to give you some pointers, some ideas, some suggestions. Um, and then, hey, Gregory, are you working on a project right now that you might want to share or upcoming projects?
I just finished one of the project I was working with I Earth World. It's about the trafficking, how can, when you see something, you talk about it, I just finished a piece for them. It's supposed to be auction them off soon, but the event canceled because, situation we're in right now. So this is the one I just finished, but I'm just looking for new ones. So if someone would like to include us or something, so we'll be happy to help.
There you go, everybody. If you want to hire an artist, Gregory's available, and we'll make sure we'll bring some youth with us as well.
Of course.
I see. Is our time up at 11:30? I just want to make sure.
Yeah, our time is just about up. But one last question came
Sure.
through here, and the person asked if and when any community members had difficulties with the subject matter of any of the mural project, how did you navigate the responses to that with the youth artists?
Gregory and I, we told the youth that there's going to be people that are going to love your art, and then there's going to be people that may not love your art. We talked about that. We prepped them for that, and that's okay if the art, as Mel said, she intentionally wanted to provoke, and she did a good job of that because it did provoke some complaints in the community. But that's what artists do. We reflect what we do, and hopefully we can have that conversation with the community or one-on-one. So we got to start somewhere, and I think the arts is an amazing opportunity to be able to have these difficult discussions.
Sure. Well, Alex and Gregory, thank you for your time this morning. We really appreciate it. And thank you to the attendees who came in today. If you want to continue the conversation, there's the chat option on Whova for this event. And there's also Gregory and Alex's information on there as well if you want to follow up or get in touch with them after the session today. So thank you again, everybody. We appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. And Gregory, thank you.
Take care.